Well, welcome everyone to this important session on senior women's shared housing. My name is Patricia Spindell, and I'm the chair of Seniors for Social Action Ontario, and I'll be your moderator tonight. In 2014, tonight's presenter tragically lost her husband and her life changed. Finances, distance from family, and loss of contact with friends all became major challenges. In her 60s, Pat, a former public health nurse, found herself facing age discrimination in trying to find work and homeless. Undaunted, she started a Facebook group called Senior Ladies Living Together. Within a month, over 200 women had joined. Within a year, there were 1,700 members from all across Ontario. She'd found both housemates and her life's purpose in becoming the executive director of Senior Women Living Together. Pat Dunn is a remarkable woman who turned extreme challenges into opportunities for herself and others, and we're honored to have her join us tonight. So a warm welcome to you, Pat.
Well, thank you. Trisha, can I say Trisha?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, I really thank you so much for this opportunity. I was so excited. I told my board of directors, guess who I'm talking to? And says, hey, oh, wow. To all of you, I wish there were sometimes I wish it's a smaller group so we can chat, but I need to tell you lots about what we do, and so I don't want to um take up your time. And if you could any questions, jot them down into the chat. Any comments or anything that I can see after, I'll make sure I answer as many questions as I can. And but if there's some left over, I'll make sure you get the answers. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. And this is the one I want. And we're just going to go here. And on screen share. Okay, so now I need it to go from the beginning. Okay, here we are. All right. So, as Trisha said, I started in 2019. We became a nonprofit corporation shortly after we started, and now we have a website where women can come and find compatible other homemates to live with. And there's about 2,700 in our Facebook group now, and about 300 or 400 on the website actively looking. So, as I said, we're a nonprofit organization. So we help senior women find compatible homemates and then create successful shared living arrangements in rental housing. We don't help women co-purchase. We also help arrange for affordable rentals through partnering with private landlords and real estate investors. So who joins? Well, our members range in age from 55 to 80 plus. Actually, I just talked to an 83-year-old this morning, with majority being between 65 and 75. 90% are currently renting and living alone. 5% are homeowners living alone, and 5% or so are finding alternative living arrangements like living with family, friends, couch surfing, and yes, unfortunately, some are living in their cars. So how come this has, become so popular? What makes this important? Well, as I found out the hard way, everything was too expensive. Um, the seniors' residences were too high. I couldn't afford to purchase. I didn't have capital for that, or not enough. Um, I had to uh, find something else. The government was not going to build a house for me. And so um, I was going to have to find a way around the government. And that's how my brain started working on what we might be able to do. Then, of course, for homeowners, senior women living alone in their home, are also struggling sometimes because of the maintenance or loneliness or um, just sometimes decision making, have somebody to bounce off, should I do this? Should I do that? And they come to us because of the desire to have some women to come and live with them. Wait lists are long. I went into the wait list in Peterborough, and first of all, it was quite distressing going to even to apply for it, frankly. But um, I got my name on the list, and the woman at the desk said, "Well, that'll be about 10 years." And I thought, "Oh, that's great. That's going to do me a lot of good." Got in my car and again thought there's got to be a better way. What we found is that the uh, the women who come to us are are getting from us uh, um, the ability to maintain their independence and their uh, autonomy and their dignity. They can make their own choices, so they can choose who they're going to live with, where they're going to live, and what kind of housing they're going to live in. Um, and so you don't get that kind of options when you go to the agencies. So in Ontario, I put here thousands of single senior women living on unaffordable um, housing. The Stats Canada, but Stats Canada, I go every day I go and look, I seem to get a different number. I've gone from 44,000 recently. It seems like that's what Stats Canada was saying, and then another time it was 285,000 in Ontario alone. But across Canada, for sure, there's millions. So what do we do? So they start by creating a profile. I don't know if you've ever been on a dating site, but some people tell me that this is the same sort of process in the beginning. They create a profile, they answer a bunch of questions about themselves so that others can read about them and see if there's a fit. It might be something like somebody owns three dogs, and that might be something that I'm not interested in, even though I love dogs. It gives a chance to get a bit of a picture of each person when you read their profiles. And then you're looking for compatibility. Well, we provide a lot of support and information and blog posts on compatibilities so people can sort through how to do that. Then they can contact the ones they think are most compatible. They can do that right on the website. And then they can arrange to meet. And we often recommend meeting at least five, maybe 10 times together before you make a final choice to live together. And there's a lot you can learn about a person on a Zoom chat too, but there's nothing quite like sitting down to coffee or going out to lunch or you know going shopping together or going to visit each other in your current residences. You can get a good sense of whether or not that person's idea of clean is the same as your idea of clean when you see their residence. And then we have once you decide to live together, a group of two, three, or four, uh, we have a comprehensive homemade agreement. All the reading I did and research on what makes for successful shared living around the world, lots of research on that, um, indicated the number one uh, need was a good homemade agreement. And so we started working on one right away, and we've been building it ever since. And I think it may be out its final version now. But it you talk together, you create this together. Everybody's homemade agreement looks different because it depends on the people involved. And so they'll um, talk about the basic things like cooking and cleaning and laundry and um, you know, bedroom space and all of that uh, yes, all of those sorts of things. But we also added in a section on maintaining healthy relationships so that the group can talk about things like, well, how are we going to communicate with each other? What are the ways we're not going to communicate? What's okay? What isn't? And the groups work on that. And then over time, they can add to it, change it, depends. It's not written in stone at any given time. Another section we added in was aging together. Um, things like what if I notice one of my homemates really starting to show signs of dementia? What am I going to do? What are we going to do together about that? Um, what about what information do we need to share with each other so that if in an emergency I could get hold of the right people? Um, what kinds, even our what they used to call a living will, the ideas of what you're willing to have done to you and what you don't want done to you, all of that. So that section has become very important as homemade groups have formed and started living together and aging together. They're starting to notice the kinds of things they're going to have to work together on as they age. And then your homemade agreement is done. You can look for a suitable rental accommodation. And of course, that's therein lies the rub, I guess. What is suitable? What is going to be affordable in an environment right now where since 2019, the rents have tripled. We've got landlords um, with no oversight on landlords and how they manage things. So they're doing illegal evictions, all kinds of horrible things are happening. And some of our members have been through that a couple of times already. So we work hard to find landlords and real estate investors that are going to um, behave themselves, so to speak. But the groups will also go out and find their own accommodation. We have a group of four in London that found their own place, and they're quite happy. The landlord seems to be doing right by them, and so it's a challenge, and it continues to be a challenge for us organizers because we need to be able to respond to these homemade groups as they form with with providing some help to get a secure, safe environment for them for their home. Okay, so far we've had 62 women have found compatible homemates through SWILT. It's not a whole lot, but keep in mind that for at least 2 years, with COVID, nobody could really meet in person or spend a lot of time together in person. So it's starting to pick up again now. About 66% of those women are living with one other homemate. 16% are living with groups of three. That's what my group is, a group of three. And 14% are in groups of four. So I wanted to add in sort of the basic shared living um, benefits. And some of it's obvious, obviously, financial security. So our members are going from spending 50% or more. We have a lot of members spending 70% of their income on housing, and they're dropping down to 30 or 40%. I was able to actually open a savings account and fill it in the last 5 years. So that without not like without giving up things that I really need or even want. Housing security. Because as I mentioned, a lot of the women have been through a lot of illegal activity, landlords and illegal evictions, and they're every time they're faced again with that terror of being homeless, and what are they going to do if they're homeless? And so this way, we get landlords to um, to give 5-year leases with the opportunity, like we get a commitment from them that they're not going to sell out from under these women, at least for 5 years, if not longer. And you know, only only rent controlled increases annually. So instead of some of the landlords out there that are uh, doing a little bit of upgrade to the place, and then they decide to charge you, you know, $200 more or $500 more a month because of that. So we work hard and we help the members ask those questions and get that kind of information from the landlords. Then, of course, there's avoiding isolation and loneliness, and there's nothing uh, quite as thrilling is to wake up and have someone to chat with over coffee, to eat a meal with, to watch a movie with, um, when you've been lonely and alone. So that's such an important benefit. And then, of course, we know there's health risks of living alone and being lonely, higher risk of memory decline, cognitive loss, and depression, and also it negatively affects existing conditions like heart disease, diabetes, and arthritis. So that's gone. That once you start living together and you have this compatible homemate group, that those risks are gone. Um, and it's just quite, well, I always get goosebumps when somebody tells me they're going to start living together because I just think, wow, you have no idea. Almost every day there's going to be something new that you're going to be grateful for. And then, of course, the horror of transfer to long-term care simply because you're living alone is gone. So there's also positive outcomes for municipalities. So when our senior women move out of their current residences and into a shared living arrangement, their previous rentals are all left back into the rental stock. And the most municipalities have very, very little long-term rental stock available. And then also they're removed from the wait lists for seniors housing. So someone else gets to move up the list because they are gone from the list. So what's next for us? Well, we're partner. It's actually started some of this. What next? So we've started to partner with nonprofit housing providers. Like in Toronto, there's Wood Green Community Services, and we have a relationship with them for their 2-bedroom units. Um, we're going to try to do that across the province to help everyone. We also work with developers and around housing projects. I talk with a builder quite regularly. He's looking for properties to buy if we can get grants, of course, and all of that. It's a big job, but we could start to build something um, that's built for shared living and has the age and place factors already in there. And then advocate for solutions to rental housing crisis. So I just have to spend more time with Trish to find out how to do all this advocacy work because it's a skill and a huge amount of information you have to work with. So, but what we're doing, and we can't as a group be effective as advocates because we're not trained for that. So we partner with with our advocate organizations to help get the word out about the problems for senior women in housing. And we get asked, invited, or required inquiries all the time from all across Canada. They hear about us and they want it in BC and Alberta. Every province so far had women contact us about expanding to their province. But it's a huge issue for us too. And so we've put it on our strategic plan to start talking about seriously next year because we've got too much on our plan for this year. And that's it, basically. I'd like to spend some time answering your questions, and I could leave this up if you want. What do you think, Trish? Should I leave this up so they can?
You can, or I think we go to this full screen again because that
Okay.
at the gallery so that you can see everybody if you
Yeah.
can't now.
Yeah.
And that way people can start asking you questions. And thank you for the overview. It looks like there already are a couple of questions. Rosemary, you asked a question about rural shared living and also about how or whether grown children get involved. So, Rosemary, did you want to talk directly to Pat on that? I think you're mute. There you go. You were muted.
Oh, yeah.
You're muted. There you go.
Yes, it seems like most people are in the city, and I was wondering, do you have any groups in rural Ontario, or is it mainly the city?
Well, we certainly get the majority of our members joining are in the cities. But we do have some members that actually want a rural location, and we have a house now with four in Norwood, which is in rural Peterborough. And and I'm talking with a woman about how she would like to work with us on in Aylmer, down by the Stratford, London area. Uh, so, and certainly the statistics and the information we're getting, I mean, the rural women, senior women are even at more disadvantage because, the developers may be coming into their little town, but they're building, great big houses and
Yeah.
there's no small apartments, nothing that's affordable at all. Um, so it's certainly a concern, uh, and so we're going to continue to try to address it as best we can.
So you would be available to help people in that area that would like to start, but as you say, sit down and develop a shared agreement, that kind of thing, learning how to do that. And
Yeah,
the question was the the growing children, like you might not want to be living with your growing children, but they do think they have to take care of us and telling us what to do. So do you ever have interference from them and you say, well, thank you very much for caring, but I'm not ready yet to have to take
yeah.
care.
We've certainly had members mention it as being a problem. They really wanted to do, one woman really, really wanted to do it and work with us and find a homemade group, and her daughter was totally against it. And so that was a struggle, and I tried to encourage her to withstand the
Onslaught.
force from the granddaughter. But I mean, I'm not, it's not my job to
Right,
change their relationships. But but we've had others that have just said to me, they just said, well, my son doesn't really like this idea, but to heck with him. I
right.
think it's great. I'm going for it. So the and most at least of our members are not interested in living with their children.
No,
I mean, and so but sometimes they're stuck there and they have to, and
right,
so they come because they have to get out. They just can't continue. So
right.
so yeah, it's an issue, but yes, we do help. We do sit down. Anybody who requests any help, our program is pretty self-directed. It's there. It's up to them to find their own homemates. We don't match anybody. They're all grown up. We're all grown ups. We can find our own matches. And but the process is there, and we support every part of that process. So I might spend a couple hours on Zoom one night with a group of three who are building their homemade group or their homemade agreement. So I might work through with them the various aspects and how best to word things and so on like that. So yeah, we're definitely available.
And we would contact you through the email. That's how we got onto this Zoom was through your email. Like I've subscribed to.
Oh, you'd have to join our website
Okay.
and become a member and get your profile done and start the process and then
Well, I'm not ready. I'm just thinking down the future yet.
yeah,
But so the website, it's called the Seniors for Action or
No,
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 it's Senior Women Living Together, but it's short form. So it's SWLT.ca.
SWLT. Okay.
and
Okay.
Rosemary, you're going to get the handouts, so the email
Uh,
address is actually on that as well. So,
okay. Thank you very much.
okay. So I think, Stephen, you had a question in the chat where you were talking about leaving because an owner wanted to sell. Did you have a question? Are you there, Stephen? You can just, if you can unmute, you can ask Pat directly what your question was.
No, it's my last name is Stevie. It's Helen. My
Oh,
name's
I'm
Helen.
sorry. Okay.
It's all right. I
Thank
just
you.
realized it's just an initial. I didn't know which email
Oh,
was
right.
being.
You're right. It says HM.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
No,
have my
yeah,
glasses on. No excuse.
not a problem. Yeah, I found that out, and I'm just curious if you'd heard of that and if it can be enforced. Our agreement was originally that he's like, oh yes, I want to keep this unit in the condo for investment. So yeah, you'll be here a long time, blah, blah, blah. So I believed him and I said, okay. So he had bought pre-construction and some of the appliances were just so gross. So I went with him because I'm a retired teacher. And so I went with him. We had a discount at the Brick, I think, or Leon's, I forget. And I got some good prices on a new washer dryer and a dishwasher, assuming, and I was happy we split the cost because I was assuming that we'd be there long term. Then all of a sudden, 3 years later, he's like, "Oh, I have to sell, blah blah blah," and I was so upset. I tried to get some of my money back from the shared cost of the stuff, but of course he wouldn't give it to me. So I thought, I don't feel good about this. I just want out. But I found out later that if I had wanted to stay, I could have, because according
Yes,
to, and again, I don't remember where, that if he put his stuff out for rental to other people, then too bad for him. If he wants to sell it, he has to sell it if I decide to stay as a rental property.
that's
Now,
correct.
is that, you've heard that? Okay, so it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I didn't
that's
want
correct.
to deal with the
The
hassle,
um
but
the Residential Tenancies Act is clear on this, and I think I could probably um uh give you almost I could probably know it by memory now
quote
because
it.
I've
Yeah.
looked at it. Um the yes, that uh owners have to if they have renters, owners if they're going to sell, the new owner has to accept those renters. So,
That's good to know. Yeah.
but if and in order to evict uh the renters, if they want to do that and evict you, and then they can only evict on certain conditions. They can't just evict because they feel like selling. They can't just evict because they'd like to get some other people in. They have to have specific conditions and they include having done significant
Damn it.
renovations. So you're not evicted exactly. You're asked to leave until the renovations are done, and then you're supposed to be able to come back
Place.
at the same fee. Um, or you have yourself and your family are going to start living in that home. Uh, and they'll say that, but then you leave and you find out later that they never actually did move in. It's rented to other people at, $500 more a month. Uh, all these things are happening. Yeah. And
Yep.
it's quite dreadful. There's no watchdog. Nobody's watching.
Yeah, there's so many abuses in rental
Mhm.
accommodation, isn't there? And you're
Yeah.
almost at the mercy of the marketplace in some ways. Speaking of the
Yes.
marketplace, John Gibson says he's got 20 rooms in Kitchener. He's a developer there. So if any of your women are
John,
interested.
John's here. I
Hello,
can't see him.
John.
I know John. Well, I
Pat
don't know
knows
him
me.
personally,
Pat
but
Oh,
we've
knows
Pat
me.
talked
knows.
often. Hi,
Um,
John.
how you doing? I'm going to tell you about
Hi.
my building so everyone has an idea. I have right in downtown Kitchener, I'm building an 8-story building. It's all seniors building. My first initial idea was to put 2 floors, which was 32 rooms for Abbeyfield. And I started doing
Right.
some research, and I found a lot of people don't like Abbeyfield. The major reason is they don't like other people cooking for them.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
And that's one of the things. So that's why I approached Pat and her group. And what I'm doing is I'm building most of the people here, and the way Pat's been talking, they're moving into a house that maybe has 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, that type of thing. I have apartments with ensuite bathrooms. That's one of the things that women want. They don't want to share a bathroom. They're fine with sharing a kitchen. They're fine with sharing a family room, living room type thing, but they don't want to share a bathroom. So that's what all my rooms are. I have a mixture as well as um, market rents in the building as well too. I have to make money on this.
Yeah, well,
Um,
of
I'm
course.
being honest here.
Of course.
We have 2 floors of underground parking. And the reason I put this in, and I found it very difficult to find a place for my father years ago. He's passed away since. And I thought this would be a great idea for him. Um, in downtown Kitchener, I don't know if you're familiar with anything, if that area. We have the LRT within a block of this building. We have the seniors center right across the street. We have 5 churches within walking distance, 2 parks within a block. We're with 2 blocks within downtown, and Kitchener has so many festivals all year round. There's all kinds of things to do. But I want to build a community, and that's what I want. So everyone's a senior, 55 and up. And I've talked to the Lynn, which is they look after seniors and what have you, and administering their medications and that type of thing. They are just ecstatic about bringing a person in to do the entire building.
yeah.
My vision,
John, if I can interject,
yes,
moving towards integrated care under pressure from our organization. So you're just in time. What you want to do is put a PACE program right into your building, and I can send you information about that.
I'd be
So if you
interested.
email us at seniorsactionontario@gmail.com, just go to our website, Seniors for Social Action Ontario, and you'll see the email. Email us, and I'll get you all kinds of information. Because the other person that you might want to talk to is David McCauley, who's an architect who has been helping groups and developers also build co-housing into their developments because some people prefer co-housing. So I can put you in touch with David as well. I think he'd love to talk to you.
Okay, I
The
would.
other thing that will make you happy or not is that Abbeyfield is actually going to do a presentation next month for us. And Joe McReynolds, the president of
Yeah.
Abbeyfield Canada, will be there. So you can put questions like that directly to him. As far as
I
I
know
know,
Joe very well.
no, Joe? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I don't have to worry about that. I'm
Okay, good.
the president of Kitchener, so for
Oh,
Abbeyfield.
perfect. Okay, then that's perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so there's lots going on, which is really actually great. Yeah.
So John,
Yes.
when do I start advertising this for my women?
Well, uh, as I'll let the whole group know, this is I've been building this or acquiring all these properties in downtown Kitchener, which is a heritage site. And building in a heritage site is frustrating, to put it
Yes.
mildly. No one's here from the city of Kitchener, so I can say they are not helping me at all. They are I can go on and on and on about how many.
Huh.
I'll give you an example. One of the buildings that we're tearing down, The mayor of Kitchener lived in it for 6 months 100 years ago. I fought to tear that building down for almost 2 years. It's a dump. It was a dump when I bought it. It's still a dump. Well, no one's living in there now, but this is the kind of thing you have to go through. I wanted to tear, there's 3 properties or 3 buildings on the property. I'm tearing down 2. One of them I cannot tear down. So my new building is going to be attached to that. And I've kind of gone away from the seniors aspect on the one of the buildings, and I'm putting in Marillac Place, which is one of my neighbors. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. They do transitional housing for single mothers.
Oh,
And they're ecstatic that seniors are moving in, that they could get some help.
babysitters.
Babysitters,
Oh,
yeah.
they may have to think again on that one, John.
But it's
But,
totally separate from the building, but it is attached for
yeah.
building code reasons, but
Yeah,
still, it's
yeah.
a separate building.
Well, you know what? At the risk of sounding political, there is at least one political party federally that's talking about building deeply affordable housing. So hopefully, fingers
Well,
crossed, something
we've
good
got
can come.
this is all approved, and I'm just waiting for, I've got a building permit now, so I've got all the hoops and what have you. I've got a couple of proposals out to developers, or not developers, to construction guys, and we should be starting to build, I'm hoping, in the fall.
Well, that would be
Yay.
great. Okay. Let me know, John, and we'll get the word out also to people in Kitchener.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a problem. I think there's going to be
Okay.
there's a lot of interest already.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interest. Um,
And I thought I saw, John, your question was that we started this
Yes,
conversation with, was one lease or a joint lease?
a group
Were you
lease. Yeah.
asking?
Like when
Yeah,
you have one apartment with 4 rooms, so you're going to have four
yeah.
separate people. Are you looking for 4 separate leases or one group lease?
One group lease.
One group lease. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what we recommend. Be it's hopefully easier for the landlord too. Um, but of course, it can be changed if you wanted to have individual leases. That's okay too. What we
what
try to do
happens if
is,
someone passes away or has to
well,
leave?
yeah. So that's part of our job is to help replace that person into the home.
Okay, if
So
we're
into
doing a group
the
lease.
apartment.
Okay.
So
I've been
So
talking to my
I'm
lawyer
working,
about it. Yeah.
I'm working on 2 right now that had people leave, and um, so so we're replacing, um, finding another member that's interested and they're moving in, that sort of thing. But it can work both ways. It can work the other way too.
Yeah.
It's we don't.
Like
We're not.
I wouldn't choose the people. I'd let your group choose themselves. And
Yeah,
then, and as
that's
another
right.
thing that you've been worried about is, this whole building is seniors, and I understand this. I'm a senior myself, and believe it or not, I'm going to be living in the building on the top floor.
Oh, cool.
that's good.
My wife and I. But no, I'm planning on keeping this for a long time, and I know I'm going to be passing this on to my kids. And it's just standard rent increases that the province allows us to do. Because
Yeah.
as a new building, I don't know if you're aware of this.
Well,
There
you
is no
don't have to
interest.
abide by that. You don't
That's
have to
exactly
do
right,
that.
and I
Yeah.
fully intend to do that to abide
So
by the
that's great.
percentage.
That's part
But
of
you don't have to
security
worry
for
about that.
us.
That goes for Abbeyfield and everyone in the building as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Jean-Francois has a question as well. Jean-Francois, do you want to pose the question because it's a good one? You'll have to unmute, I think. Yeah, there you go.
And I worked for a Canada Revenue Agency, and I know that if you're going to be sharing your home with someone, if you're the one receiving, like I share my home with another man who
Hmm.
helps me out, who's younger than me, but helps me out with different tasks,
Yeah.
mainly outside the snow and lawn and so forth. And I know for a fact that if you charge a lease, that technically you could try to get away with it, but If CRA comes after you and you didn't report it on your tax report, then you're liable for not reporting a revenue. So
Yeah.
what I have done is I have calculated what is it that is more expensive vis-a-vis me living alone, vis-a-vis living two in the house. And things like electricity, you
Mhm.
know, there's more usage of hot water. Uh,
Mhm.
there are things like Wi-Fi, phone, television, it's split 50-50. And whatever things that the house comes with, the benefits, then that's split 50-50, as well
Yeah.
as food. He's a vegetarian, so though I do most of the cooking, I buy more vegetarian, and so that is factored in. And then the other issue is things that are like electricity, hot water, and some incidentals that can occur. Like he likes coffee, so he drinks more coffee than I do. So then he pays for the
Yeah.
coffee.
That's true. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so these are the things that I just wanted to warn people if they're going to be receiving someone to make an agreement that talks about sharing expenses
Yes.
rather
Yeah.
than a lease.
Yeah. That's I highly with our homeowners. Um, we do suggest that they talk to an accountant and relative to the income they'll receive, and that's up to them. But we still encourage them to have a really good homemade agreement with all
Oh
of
yeah,
those things you're
definitely.
talking about. But the thing that's different, is with a homeowner is the Residential Tenancies Act, which is what governs all rentals, does not include homeowners when you have someone come and live with you. So that person isn't actually considered a tenant, they're considered a guest. And so it's awkward because if the homeowner suddenly um, decides, well, I don't want this person living with me, there's no protection for that home, for that person, like they would have if they were a tenant, literally a tenant. So it's a little tricky. So what I find with our homeowners is they're all so fabulous. But there's been a few that I've had to sort of say, well, I don't know that ours is a good fit for you. But all of them are very good about providing in writing in the homemade agreement the conditions under which they will, you know, decide that you can't stay. Like if you're cooking up meth in the kitchen, that probably is not a good thing.
What?
So,
That's income.
uh, but having those things in the homemade agreement that mirror what would be the protections for a tenant through the Residential Tenancies Act. So that's always something to keep in mind if anyone is thinking about living with a homeowner. It can work out beautifully. There's no reason why it can't, but you better have some things in writing that you wouldn't normally need to have.
So your organization then will link people with homeowners.
Oh
You'll
yes, we have homeowners. They join us just like everyone else, and they state their homeowner and they describe their homes, and they do a little bit of competitive, yeah, but I've got a big bathroom. And they just you know, but they yeah, there's the majority of our members are not homeowners. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Do other people have questions of Pat? I haven't seen it's your chance to speak up if you do. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. What are the biggest problems, Pat, that people run into when they are sharing?
well, personalities,
Sure. I see.
that certainly factors in. there's a certain kind of personality that this works for. You don't have to be so laid back that you don't care about anything. You can just be normal person that way, but you do have to be conscious of and be tolerant as much as possible. You need a high level of tolerance for you have to have a bit of a sense of adventure. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's sometimes too scary for a lot of people, but it just requires these extra things like a homemade agreement, like good communication skills, and uh, to the personalities um, of the people living together to work through if you have communication skills, and we can give tips on that. Um, Good communication skills, then you can work through almost everything.
Have
So,
you ever thought about getting a social worker on staff? One of those
yeah,
New
well,
Horizons grants.
yeah, no, we have talked about that social worker or um, a mediator, that sort of thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because it can get a bit tricky.
yeah, I'm sure it can. I mean, I think when any people live together,
Yeah,
if it's happening with married people, it certainly is going to happen with housemates. So
absolutely. And there's a honeymoon period, and
there it is,
just
I'm
like a
sure.
marriage where everything's just wonderful the first month, and then all of a sudden that
That's
top
right.
of that toothpaste tube is still off.
I know. That's funny. Jerry, you had a question, I think. You've got your hand up.
Um, yes, especially with John here, who's a developer. So, how do you build in for visitors? So, to be able to stay overnight, it might be as simple as going to a theater or a restaurant in the area and you would like a friend to stay overnight. Is that something that, generally speaking, Pat, the accommodation, I'm not talking in someone's house now, I'm talking the rental accommodation where you've got two or three gals sharing together? Or is John thinking about this kind of thing when he's building?
I have already thought
Well,
about this. Go ahead, Pat.
no, well, for us, it depends on what you're living in. I mean, there's three of us living here. We've got it all filled up. There's no other bedroom. So in our case, our homemade agreement under the title, "What about guests?" Uh, we decided, okay, if you want to stay overnight, then you leave and you go stay overnight somewhere else because there's no room here. Uh, a lot of the homes that women are moving into is the number one um, important issue is cost. Because even shared living with the rents the way they are can get too costly for a lot of us. So, yes, if we could put four women into a six-bedroom house, then there'd be space for a caregiver and people to stay overnight. Or if you have if the house you're in has a big rec room that you could put mattresses down for the kids and uh, whatever who's coming to visit. So it really depends on the homemate group, Jerry. It's
Yes,
very, very specific to what they want and the space they have.
yes.
John,
So
Yeah,
did you
what
John.
want
was
to
John said he'd already planned for
Yeah.
this. So what's his plan?
My building has only one amenity. It doesn't have a swimming pool, doesn't have a weight room, and doesn't have all this kind of stuff. It has on the roof, we have a rooftop garden, which also has a kitchen. And so if you have family members over for a party, they can, use the room for that. But we also have on the Abbey Field floors, we have two individual rooms. So there's two individual rooms in the building that can be used at any time by anyone in the building for overnight stays.
Oh,
Now
that's
there may
cool.
be a small fee for that, but it's going to be definitely way cheaper than a hotel or Airbnb.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good idea.
That's a
that's
great
a real good plus. Yay, John. You're always thinking.
idea. Jerry, I think you were asking as well about whether people can see what's put into the basic homemaker agreement or homemade agreement.
That wasn't me, but as a former
Oh,
contract manager, I'd be
yeah,
interested.
Jerry. Oh, it's a Jerri, Jerry. Did you
Yes,
want?
I am asking that. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd love to see I'd love to see a homemade agreement and all the little things people put into it.
Um, well, I can I can share the bare bones that we use for the homemade group to work with, and all of the questions we suggest they talk about and decisions that they make. It's kind of hard to share some one that's already completed by a homemade group.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how comfortable they'd
yeah.
be shared, but
Well, I
what
think
I
people probably just want to know essentially what sort of things do you have to think about in
yes,
creating
yeah.
this.
Oh, I can share that, no problem.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
Yeah, I can send it. I'll send Trisha a copy.
yeah. We can send that out to people after the
Sure,
presentation.
sure.
So, and by the way, it's being recorded, so it will be on SSAO's YouTube channel. Those of you who registered will get the recording link, and you'll also get a PDF copy of the handouts. So, okay, are there other questions people have? Just looking to see here. I'm not seeing any hands. I'm going to go the rest of the gallery here just to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Okay. No other questions anybody has? Okay, last chance.
I just want to make a comment. I'm associated with the Council on Aging here in Ottawa,
Mhm.
and I'm on the working group that is putting together a housing guide for seniors in of course in this area. But a lot of the data, it's going to be something like a 70 to 80 page document that will be
Oh,
available in November of this year. It's going to be the last one was dated 2020, and we're doing an update with more resources, both from the city of Ottawa, but also from the province of Ontario. So can I have the permission to put the senior women living together as a reference in our document?
Well, yes, of course, you would have permission.
Well,
We
no,
wouldn't mess that up.
I did want to
Any
ask because
yeah.
it would be improper of me to just do it without asking.
Yes, yeah.
Uh,
If you want our logo, if you want to contact me to get anything like that, that's shareable too, no problem.
yeah, I've already gone on your website and I've kept it as a page. And because it's as you mentioned, women are more uh, in sadly more the focus of housing challenges than men.
Yes.
And so we're focusing on both men and women, but also a lot of things. And I do a workshop that I do in English and in French on living at home, aging in the home with services and support, because the
Yeah.
COA offers a lot of resources, and we give them a booklet that highlights all of the resources that are available both from the province of Ontario as well as the city of Ottawa on all sorts of topics. NORCs, for instance, naturally occurring retirement community,
Mhm.
and of course housing, everything that has to do with housing and so forth. So I just wanted, that's why I registered for this program. I thought that was interesting because my mother lived with me for many years until she passed away. And so I was her caregiver for 15 years. And so I know what it means for a woman in my case, and I know that I'm aging as well. And so I
You can't
figured it
avoid
out.
it.
and actually wrote
Yes.
a book about it and so forth. So, but that's why I'm involved very much on housing issues for seniors, because it is a major uh, of importance to me, and to, I think, all of us who are here right now.
Yeah, exactly. And we're very glad you came, Jean-Francois, because Ottawa is on fire. You guys you have so many initiatives going and the Council on Aging there. And and we work with Ottawa on some issues now. So it's great. I mean, there's so much going on in Ottawa, which is wonderful because a lot of people from Ottawa register for our sessions. There's a very strong interest in aging in place in Ottawa. So I'm just looking. People are saying thank you. Huh. Marilyn asks, can you foresee a senior men living together? Marilyn, did you want to ask Pat the question directly?
Well, it just this last discussion made me think about that. I'm sure that there would be differences, but can you foresee that?
Well, I get contacted by men occasionally, and a couple of them, will you help me? I'd like to do this for men. I'd like to do it, replicate what you did and get this going for men. And I can to a certain degree, but I really don't have a lot of time. And it would be uh the Facebook group at the beginning, when people were just coming, when we just talked about what would this look like, how could this happen, what'll we do, how will we do it. I was gathering information all the time. I was learning every single day, every minute of every day from these women. And so I think that to replicate this in any way, that has to happen in some form. Um, the men, suggest to them, you need to find out from the men you're going to serve what they want and how they want it and what it should look like. You don't decide for them. If you decide for them, you'll lose. So, um, so that kind of, they hem and they haw, and they don't. Something. None of them end up coming back for any more advice from me, unfortunately. But I wouldn't even dare myself to try it. I think it has to be a man. I
Right.
think it would have to be a man, and it would have to be some way of getting all of that rich knowledge about what the men want.
Yeah, and you know what's happening? It's really interesting. We've gotten feedback through Seniors for Social Action. And what men sometimes decide to do is go into extremely expensive retirement homes where they're paying five to $8,000 a month. And as we think about it, and I mean, Harry and I have talked about it also, for five to $8,000 a month, people could get a reverse mortgage and have care built into their own home.
Yeah.
But it's not something that men choose. And Harry, you can chime in here because you have friends who have decided to go into retirement homes, and it appears to be because it's easier.
Yeah.
It seems
Yeah.
easier, but that's an awfully high price for men to have to pay for life to be easier. Go ahead, Harry. I know you want to comment on that one.
It for men, what I've run into is there's always the path of least resistance for
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
And organizing, as you have, just seems to be too daunting a task for most older guys. And I expect for younger guys too. So it's the odd one who could organize something like you have.
Yeah.
And it really is a matter of if they've got the money, they'll just pay
That's
to
the
be
thing.
taken care of. For a lot of
Yeah.
men, they've been taken care of most of their lives.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, they want to
Well,
continue
yeah.
that.
And that's the thing. I mean, five to $8,000. I mean, I couldn't even pay half of $5,000. My income's only 2,500.
Yeah, but
So,
as Trish is
uh,
saying, some of our friends, I know at least two men whose wives have passed on before them,
yeah,
and they're left with nice homes. and in
Yes.
nice
Yes.
areas of Toronto.
And then they sell the home and they go into
That's
their
right.
oh,
Or you can, as Tricia
oh,
has said, you can take out another mortgage or a reverse mortgage. And,
yeah.
you're taken care of unless they care about their children and wanting to leave them something.
Yes. Yeah.
But again, I guess it's a male way of thinking. They've got to
Yeah.
take care of themselves
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they want someone to take care of them. So,
Them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I
Yep.
would add a little piece on that, though. It all boils down to how one was raised. I mean, my
Right.
mother and father raised
exactly.
5 kids, 3 boys, 2 girls, and on a farm, you had to be self-sufficient on every aspect.
Yes.
Cooking, ironing, cleaning, doing chores, milking the cows, feeding the animals. And so you grow up with that independence that you love because you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want.
That's
And
right.
Yeah.
so, some 23 years ago, I moved from Ottawa to Maxville, which is about an hour east, a very rural place. The lady who spoke about rural, my closest neighbor is a half a kilometer away, and they're farmers. And so you have to have a car and you have to be mobile. But I wanted to go back to that nature, and I do everything. The hard stuff is done by my home share. He cuts the
Yeah.
grass, paints the snow,
Well
he
done.
shovels the
Very,
snow and
very
everything.
smart what you did. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and so it's how, and I agree with you, Harry, that if some older men have had everything done for them by their wives and their children and whatever, and so, but in areas where that didn't happen, I find that men really want, and I'm associated with another group in Ottawa, and it's the Ontario Seniors Pride Network, and these are more the LGBTQ community that I've been doing work for them, some counseling and as well as some consulting, because I have a process for them to identify data in order to then react to it. And these were all 80% men, 20% women, and all these men are very self-sufficient and so forth until medically things happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly
And
the
that's
way
the
it is.
trouble. And that's the trouble for the women too. I love what you're doing. It's for my future. I'll do it someday. But then when that one negative event that puts them over the edge, and then it's almost too late to
Right.
to to build the homemade group, you know?
Yeah.
And I say to everyone, think ahead. Your body's gonna it's not gonna get more healthy as you
Right.
age.
No matter
And
how much we hope it will.
Well,
so
I do
and,
presentations on
but
on my books and talking about that, and I tell people, resistance is futile. You will age. We all age.
yeah, that's right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much cream and how much you're going to
Yeah, it
do.
doesn't
You're still
matter.
going to
You're
age.
gonna get older.
So
Well,
don't
and I
wait for
think
something to
the
happen. Prepare, prepare, prepare. It's like
yes, that's
buying,
right. Yeah,
location, location, location. For us, it's prepare, prepare, prepare.
yeah,
And
that's right.
then there's denial, denial, denial.
Oh yeah.
Denial.
It's more than a river in Egypt. And people will
Yeah,
do that.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
exactly right. Well,
yeah.
Pat,
Because
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. No,
no, it's okay.
you finish your thought.
No, it's okay. I never finish a thought. As soon as I think of one, I think of another thought. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, well, listen, this has been a very lively and interesting presentation. And thank you for giving us the overview and for, taking the questions. And there have been some comments on the chat about how insightful you are into the situations, involving the people who are home sharing. And, how important it is to have that particular skill because not everybody has it. And, being intuitive and insightful. And the previous work you've done in public health, I'm sure has prepared you a bit for that. But I think you're in the perfect role. And I'm sure all of the people that you're working with really do appreciate that. So, and we appreciate it too. And we especially appreciated you having done this presentation for us tonight. So please have a good evening, and please share around, everybody share around the video, which will appear on the Seniors for Social Action Ontario YouTube channel, probably within a couple of days. So Pat, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you
Right,
very
awesome.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And people are saying it was a terrific presentation, so we'll leave you with that.